What's up, world? This is Anthony Perez here in Kotor Bay, Montenegro, having an amazing time. It's been 3 months since I left home for the open road, and all I can say, it's been absolutely amazing. If I could say I have any regrets, 0. What started off as a vacation on this year of travel has now turned into a lifestyle on the road, and I am the happiest I've ever been in my life. I wake up in a new bed every day. Oh, if I don't stay in a place more than 3 days, but you get the point. Every day I meet new people, I see new places, new faces. The thing about this lifestyle is that there's newness every day. There's no routine. The only routine is breathing air, eating food, sleeping, and drinking beer.
Cheers!
All different kinds, new ones. Anyways, this life I've set up for myself, it's not the easiest. There has its down times, there's stressful times, Couchsurfer declining a request last minute, or having to wake up early for a train, or hitchhiking with no people willing to pick you up for hours on end. But let me tell you something, no matter what you may go through, everything that you do to see these beautiful places and all these experiences, meet new faces, try new things, is the most beautiful investment in life. It's all worth it. This life, it opens up your mind to so much. I'm not a big fan of vlogs or vlogs or whatever you want to call them, or I've been telling myself, nah, I'm not gonna do that. But if I'm living this world of travel, if this is now my life, this is my lifestyle, and I'm here to inspire you to travel, I think it kind of makes sense to vlog. I don't like the word. I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna call it vlogs. I'm gonna call it A-logs. That's Anthony Logs. Anthony Logs, yeah. Okay. I've been traveling all my life. I've been traveling on my own for the past 5 years. In the past 3 months, I've lived this world of travel on the road every day. And doing so, I've learned a lot till this day. I want to show you the ins and outs, the in-betweens, the stressful parts that you may encounter in travel. So for starters, on this A-log, I want to teach you, in my eyes, how to travel on a budget, how to travel cheap, penny pinching, stretching money out. Because people think travel is really expensive. You're wrong. Travel can be as cheap as you want it to be. As long as you want it to be cheap, you can make it cheap. So I'm going to go through all the steps, everything that I've learned, everything that I know to help you travel on a budget. So, let's do it. There are many ways to travel. Planes, trains, buses, cars, walking, crawling, walking with your hands. You get the point. But when you think traveling, or at least when I think traveling, I think of flying. So, to start off traveling cheap, I'm going to talk about how to fly for almost nothing to basically nothing. Travel hacking. When people think of travel as far as money goes, they think it's completely expensive. And the most intimidating part about it is expensive flights, especially flying international. Most airlines have air miles programs, loyalty programs that you can get involved in that cost nothing. You can literally go to Delta's website, create an account, and you have an air miles account. So there's ways to earn miles. You can basically fly anywhere and link your flight to your miles account, and you get air miles for the miles that you fly. Second option is credit card signups. Now in the US, people think, oh yeah, you can stay away from credit cards. Yeah, stay away from credit cards if you are dangerous as far as responsibility. If you're going to sign up for credit cards, you have to have discipline, you have to just watch your every move basically. If you're responsible, organized, and you know what you're doing, go for it. Every once in a while you'll see these promotions that Delta or United or JetBlue will have. If you sign up for a credit card, they'll give you 50,000 starting points. Sometimes you could get away with 70 to 80,000 miles. Depending on the time of the year, you could snag some good deals. Right now, I have an active American Airlines account, Delta account, JetBlue. I have Amtrak too. And I've accrued many miles over the years with credit card signups and using my cards to buy basically everything. Now, I'm not a card freak, but miles are basically money. And if you use your cards to buy everyday purchases, some of them are twice as many miles for groceries or whatever. Next thing you know, you have enough miles for a plane ticket to Puerto Rico or to Europe. And 3, manufactured spending. Basically using a Bluebird Walmart card or a Target Red card to buy gift cards. But I think the game is over, and American Express, who owns the Walmart Bluebird and the Target Red card, basically shut that down, and that's in the past. That was history. But it was nice while it lasted. For example, I flew to Europe with 21,000 Sky Miles, $5.60. Otherwise, if I didn't use Sky Miles, I would have paid maybe $2,000 one way. The cool thing is, just about every airline is associated with a global alliance program, like Star Alliance, One World. For example, I have an American Airlines loyalty program account. And later on this year, I will travel to Fiji and some of the islands in the South Pacific. American Airlines has an alliance with Fiji Airways, and I can use my points towards a Fiji Airways, Fiji Airlines, whatever. I'll also be traveling to Hawaii, and Hawaiian Airlines has an alliance with JetBlue. I'll use my JetBlue points. So I'm still here in Europe. I plan to use my Sky Miles to fly back home from Athens to JFK, New York. Now, this may seem like a lot of work and a lot of research to do, but if you want to pay almost nothing for a flight, trust me, it's worth it. Let's talk about logic. Once you get past the airline part, things get a lot easier. You have more options, you have more flexibility, you can do whatever you want from there. You have a choice. You can stay from a luxurious 5-star hotel to camping in the woods, if it's legal or illegal. Nowadays with technology, different applications, different websites, there's so many more options to choose from. For me, Couchsurfing is my first option. What is that exactly? It's basically what the name implies. You just surf a couch in somebody else's home. Now most people think, oh, that's dangerous, oh, what are you, crazy? And even hosts tell me that other people tell me, why would you take an American in your home? What if he does something? Relax. Couchsurfing is a lot safer than one thinks. It's amazing because it allows you to meet other people from other cities of your country or other places in other countries. And sure, you stay at their place for free, you don't pay for anything. However, that's not the point. If you want to travel on a budget and you have intentions of learning about where you're going, Couchsurfing is the best option out there. Because what I usually say is, you learn so much through a couchsurfer in a matter of hours that it would take maybe a week in a hostel or hotel to learn. I've couchsurfed for the past 2 years, and I can say I've met the most amazing people through couchsurfing. Some of them who I still talk to and consider good friends. Most of the time, you don't do exactly what you want. They have a work schedule, you may have to walk around the city for a little bit until they go home. Some of them will give you a key to their home. Some of them won't. It's a little bit of a sacrifice, but in the end, you have the most amazing experience. When you couchsurf, you have the opportunity to meet his or her friends, and you learn about the culture faster, you eat the local food, you get to go to the places that don't cost as much. As far as sleeping arrangements go, I've stayed on a couch, a sleeping bag, and even had my own private room sometimes. I've stayed in ordinary Soviet block apartments to in a home that overlooks the Adriatic. Another thing that's cool about couchsurfing is that you don't exactly have to surf a couch in order to use it. There's ways to set up socials and attend socials where you get to meet other people. You can do this in your hometown, or you could do this while you're traveling. Couchsurfing may seem intimidating at first. It did take me 1.5 years to actually surf a couch, but once you get past the first time, you'll realize how amazing it is. So for those of you watching, try couchsurfing. But do remember this, it is not for the money. It is not because it's free. Do it for the experience. Do it for the friendships that you'll make. And do it for the cultural experience you'll never forget. Now, if you find yourself a couch surfer, that's pretty good. You're gonna have an amazing time. But there's gonna be instances where you don't find a couch surfer for various reasons. And that's gonna happen. No matter how good you are at writing requests, or no matter how many times you've couch surfed, it's gonna happen. Either there's not enough couch surfers in town, or they don't message you in time, or don't message you at all. Or they decline you because they're going out of town, or they already have guests, or they just don't wanna host. That leaves you with other options, which means you'll have to pay for lodging, and it may not be the cultural experience that you were looking for. You might find it anyway. For me, I found many different options to choose from, and my first one is booking.com. Now why do I choose that? Because I find many more options on there. You have everything that ranges from guest houses to hostels to hotels to apartments to little bedrooms to lofts. The one thing I like about booking.com is that it doesn't require you to put a down payment or anything like that. Sure, you have to put in your credit card information in case you don't show up or cancellation. You could put in your credit card information and you can just show up and pay cash. I like that because I don't like using my card all the time. The prices do range much better on Booking since there are more options. You can find the cheapest place in the world on there to 5-star luxury. It shows how many rooms are left, how many people are looking. It gives you, idea of like, oh, should I book this now or, not at all. If I'm going to a place where they'll most likely have a hostel, I'll choose Hostel World. It's a pretty reliable application and a lot of backpackers use it. People who are on a tight budget and like to pay for a bed instead of a whole room or apartment or loft or whatever. You do have to put a down payment in with a credit card on the website or the application, but you get to pay the rest in cash when you arrive. Usually my last option, or depending on where I am, it might be my first, is Airbnb. The past couple of years, Airbnb has had my back as far as, really authentic stays and places where I want to do something different than a hotel. In some cases, I won't find anything cheaper on Booking. I won't find the hostel, but there will be an Airbnb that is the cheapest option for the whole town. It's become pretty safe. It's a very reliable resource as far as lodging goes. I choose Airbnb half the time because it's a more personal experience, it's more authentic. You get to meet the people who are giving you the keys. Depending on where you're staying, it may be a whole house, apartment, or a bedroom. Overlooking the sea, overlooking the mountains. I've had Airbnbs in the center of town. In some cases, it's like Couchsurfing, where you actually get to hang out with the host, even though you're paying for a bedroom. You do need a credit card on file, so you can pay online, but once you arrive, they give you the keys and you're on your own. In some cases where I don't want to Couchsurf and I want to do my own thing, and if I can't find something on Booking, Airbnb is just about everywhere in the world, and there's usually a high chance of there being an Airbnb and a place to stay where you could just spread out, relax, and just like the website says, feel at home. Now, if you really want to be on a budget, there's always the option of camping. I haven't exactly camped on this trip, but I've met many travelers who've done so. Hurry up, man. Dude, shut up. This is exhausting. So, depending on your preference in lodging, no matter where you go, there is somewhere to stay. But yeah, some places might require you to book in advance, and there's times where you can book last minute. It also depends on the city too. I've booked from 3 months ahead of time to literally 1 hour before arriving. Especially here in Europe, you can get away with walking up to a place and they're most likely gonna have a bed or a room. Especially hostels, it's pretty convenient. So you got your lodging all figured out, you flew to your destination, and the next thing you want to figure out is how to get to where you want to be, or you've already finished a city or a town and you want to go to the next place. How are you going to get there? No matter where you are in the world, there's some form of transportation. Like places in the US, it's a little more unusual, but no matter what, there's always a way to get somewhere, as long as you have an open mind. To make things simple, you can start with buses. Just anywhere around the world, a bus goes somewhere. Especially in towns where locals live. There's more than likely going to be a bus used by a local to get there. For all the time that I've traveled, I've learned 2 things. I can plan and figure out what buses go where and what times. Or 2, I've been pretty last minute in my travels, so I can just show up at a bus station and most likely there's a bus going somewhere. Now, I've used all forms of transport in my travels. Trains, by far my favorite. There's nothing better than getting on a train car and just picking a seat, just putting your bags wherever you want, and you could just spread out, you can blog, you can read a book, you could just watch the earth go by in your window. For the most part, most trains I've taken are pretty reliable. I mean, it is Europe, but as far as around the world, it depends on what country you're in. But no matter what, a train's gonna take you wherever you need to go. This next option, I'm not sure how common it is around the world, but as for Europe, there's the option of BlaBlaCar. And what that basically is, someone who has a work commute, just someone driving from one place to another who has open seats. And he basically charges you for the seat and whatever bags you have to put in his car. For the most part, it's usually cheaper than trains and buses. I've used it all across the Balkans. It's pretty awesome because it's a more personal experience with whoever's driving you. In one instance, I took a ride with a guy across northern Romania. It was a 6-hour ride, and it was such a good ride that he even invited me to dinner with him and his wife the next day.
Cheers, mate. No.
It's just amazing experiences. Last but not least, my second favorite form of travel is hitchhiking. Hitchhiking is something I discovered on my Balkans trip in Europe, and it's something I didn't exactly say never, but I was very intimidated at the thought and at the whole concept of doing so. Waiting on the road, getting in the car with a stranger, oh, it's dangerous, it's not safe. These are all the things you hear, and these are all the things I've thought the whole time I avoided hitchhiking. But then once I gave it a try, and the thing is, you do it once, you become completely addicted. I'm officially hitchhiking for the first time. Once you overcome the fear and the intimidation of getting in somebody else's car, you'll want to do it more and more, especially in countries where it's a lot more acceptable. In America, it's a little more complicated because there's laws against it. You have to find loopholes, and people usually frown upon it because of a bad reputation on the news that you always hear. But realistically, people hitchhike around the world. If there's a road and there's traffic, more than likely someone is gonna pick you up. All it takes is finding the right spot, finding a safe place on the side of the road, and the next thing you know, you're on your way with an awesome local from whatever country you're at. And the cool thing is, opposed to buses and trains, is it's more personal. You get to talk with the person, whether it's a language barrier or not. I've hitchhiked many times despite how afraid I was or intimidated, and I got to say I've had some of the most amazing experiences in my life in this world of travel. Some people I've connected with on Facebook. Some people I've kept their numbers and I stay in contact with.
Okay, if we visit USA, we will stay in Anthony's house.
In some rides, the driver's quiet and it's just a quiet ride. That's okay. In some cases, they have the music up and you just jam out. In other cases, you're having a conversation the whole time, and next thing you know, you're at your destination and you just want to keep on riding. There's some instances where I've hitchhiked and the people driving go out of their way to drop me off, especially in amazing hitchhiking places like Romania, Bosnia, and even here in Kosovo. I can try to persuade you to hitchhike as much as possible, but just like me and how many people have told me to do it, it does take confidence, and it does take one time to get addicted. So I could do as much as I can to try to persuade you to hitchhike. And no matter what, you may feel intimidated by it, but take that little ounce of curiosity and make it happen once, because I can guarantee you, you will never want to stop, and you will be addicted too. You're doing good so far, you're on a budget. But now we need to talk about the most important part of travel and just life period, and that's eating. I run into a lot of travelers who say that a particular place is expensive. Now that may be true, but most of the time they're referencing restaurants. They're referencing places they've gone out to eat, and they claim that the whole place was expensive. The problem is these people see these prices, the person comes out to talk to them, and then they are suckered into eating at this place. And then next thing they know, they're paying more than what they expected. For me, I've been able to arrive at a destination either with a completely empty stomach or half hunger, half not, and been able to walk around and scope out the place before I settle for something that may be overpriced. One good thing to note is if you're in a place where it has more locals than tourists, or 50-50, you're more than likely to find a place that is affordable, that locals usually go to. But what I do is if I go to a tourist town, I make sure I find a place to stay that has a kitchen. And before I go to the town, I look to see if there's a supermarket. If there isn't, I'll try to find a supermarket before I go to the place so I can buy groceries and then cook in the next town. And if all that fails, there's no supermarket, there's no kitchen, then yes, you're gonna have to eat out. But one thing you have to remember is that no matter how much of a budget you're on, how well you're trying to save money, local cuisine is a very important thing in travel. So if you're trying to eat cheap all the time, you're gonna miss out on local cuisine. One of many cool things about travel is collecting money from other countries. It's just something about the feel and the look of currency other than your own. But when you think about it, it can be a hassle as far as currency exchange and how to figure out getting money from another country without incurring fees or anything. First things first, before you travel, I would be sure what kind of fees you have with your bank as far as withdrawing money or swiping your credit card. For example, in Europe, and most of the world is catching up, chip technology on cards are doing pretty well. A lot of banks and especially credit card companies, they don't charge international fees when you use your chip technology. But some banks you have to watch out for, because you swipe your card overseas or you take money out of a bank, you not only get a non-bank ATM fee, and then you'll get a percentage on top of that. If you do that over and over, that can add up and it can be really expensive and sort of ruin your budget. In my world of travel, I have several credit cards with pin and chip technology. Some of those cards accrue air miles, which I mentioned earlier in this video. And also, as far as my bank goes, if I'm withdrawing money, I have TD Bank. TD Bank is pretty cool. It does charge a $3 ATM fee wherever you go, but there's no additional fees or percentages tacked onto it. In terms of how I acquire currency when I go abroad, it just all depends on how much I'm taking out. If I'm taking out a couple of hundred because I set a budget for that particular country, then I'll go to an ATM and I'll pay the $3 fee for the couple of hundred I'm getting. Because sometimes the percentages in currency exchanges can be a bit highway robbery. If I set a small budget for a particular country and it's not that much to exchange, then I'll exchange it in person. And although the exchange rates may not be the best in the world, it's really not that much for, that low amount. So you figured out how to travel on a budget, and it's working for you. But sometimes when you do it too much, you miss out on some important things, like places that are considered an icon of wherever you are. For example, going up the Eiffel Tower, or going into the Colosseum in Rome. Sure, it may be out of budget, it may be expensive, but sometimes you have to invest in those things. So next time you find yourself in a situation where if you want to spend more on a tourist attraction or not, think about it. Are you going to regret it because you didn't want to shell out a few bucks? And if you think you do, go ahead and do it. When most people think of travel, they think of this beautiful opportunity to go relax and take a vacation, or take an opportunity to explore the world. But a lot of people make excuses. It's too hard, it's too expensive, it's really difficult. Travel can be inexpensive, it can be cheap, so as long as you want it to be cheap. Just think about it. If you really want something bad enough, you're gonna find a means to make it happen. And that applies to travel. So I hope this video helps you realize that travel is not as difficult as people make it to be. And it's not as expensive as people make it to be. So once you figure it out, and once you actually understand how budget travel works, there's only one important thing you need to remember. No matter how much hard work you put into traveling on a budget, finding cheap airlines, finding cheap places to stay, hitchhiking and taking cheap buses and trains and catching rides, the one last thing you need to remember, whether you're on vacation for a few days or backpacking the world for a year, just have fun. I hope I was able to deliver the message of reasons why travel is so amazing. I hope that the information and the insight I provided in this video, all of which I used in my travels, are useful to you and your desires to travel the world also. If you have any questions, you have any feedback, or if you feel like I missed something that's important to travel that I didn't put in this video, leave a comment below. Nothing excites me more than to help another traveler. This journey I'm on is absolutely incredible, and I really do enjoy sharing it with the world. So if you haven't already done so, subscribe to my channel, follow me on Snapchat, Instagram, or Facebook, and join me on this amazing journey around the world. So cheers, and happy travels.